Hey y'all. So I can already see people in the chat. So I know that people are here. How is everyone doing? Sorry, I'm looking down. I'm looking at something real quick. Hello, hello, hello. Who is here? Who is here? Who is here? Hello, hello. Tammy, I wish I did. I tried to relax a little bit. I ended up literally just sitting in the dark. As crazy as that may sound, yeah, I sat in the dark for about um for about an hour. So that was somewhat of a relaxation thing. Trying to get to bed early. So, hey Nicole, I just want to say right now, um, we usually do these lives. If this is your first time ever coming to one of these lives, we like to talk, and we usually talk for hours and hours. However, I have been up to at least 3 every morning for the past few days, not because of Booktube. I have some work that I'm doing for, like, my real life my real life job that, has to get done by the 31st of this month, so it's kind of crunch time for me right now. So I am exhausted. So I'm gonna try to keep this conversation to about an hour, hour and a half, and I need y'all to do me a favor. Tammy, I'm calling on you because you usually are great with my time. Um, please keep me on track. Please make sure that please make sure that I only do this for an hour and a half. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. Hey Mara, I'm taking a page from you today because Mama needs her sleep tonight. I really need my sleep tonight. She's good. She's better. So I think I had shared that someone at her school, actually, one of the kids contracted COVID. So her school's closed. So my days are actually really, really hectic right now. So I'm at home working and also have a 14-month-old who is, at that age, she requires a lot of attention. So it's been a juggling act, but she's doing a lot better. All that stuff cleared up. They think that it was a reaction to a viral infection, believe it or not, which is so crazy. I didn't know that kids could actually break out in rashes from head to toe from viral infections, but in fact, they can. And she did. She did. She did. She did. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got something to film real, real quick after we get off of this live. So I was like, why not kill? Is it kill two birds with one stone? Is that the phrase? It's such a horrific phrase, but I think it is to kill two birds with one stone. To go ahead and take care of it. So instead of lollygagging, that is the correct word, lollygagging, um, we can go ahead and jump in. Thank you, y'all, for saying that or wishing her well. I really, really appreciate it. That was probably the scariest moment that I've had in a minute with her. I've had scarier moments, but that one, like her being covered from head to toe in a rash with her eyes swollen and not knowing what the heck caused it, made me panic. So, um, yeah, 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 yeah. It's been crazy. All right. So, jumping right in because I think that there's probably a lot to kind of work our way through, and I want to make sure that I'm having a productive conversation with everyone. I know that back in June, the date that I filmed my video was on June 7th. Um, and at the end of that video, which I have now made that video private for work related reasons, my mouth was particularly filthy in that video, and I'm very mindful a lot of times about some things that I put out just because just professional related stuff. But at the end of that video, I said that my biggest fear was that in 6 months, what would end up happening was that the book community would go back to doing exactly what it has always done, and that the uproar of what we were seeing in June via social media, via people making stuff on YouTube was going to dissipate, and that people were going to go back to doing their usual. So I want to pose this question to y'all first because I have my thoughts on whether I think we have gone back or whether we have not gone back. But I also want to take the opportunity to kind of gauge some other people's perspectives because sometimes that I think one of my biggest things for me is that I can be a glass half empty with certain situations. I'm trying to get better about that, but I would really like to gauge how everyone else has perceived, particularly the Black people in this community. Now, I know there's been a lot of discourse and conversation about some things that happened on in the community today, via Twitter and stuff like that. I am not speaking on that, so please do not ask me to speak on that because I'm not going to speak on that in particular because I cannot speak for the voices that were impacted by the conversation that happened today. I can only speak to my experience as a Black member of this community, and I cannot speak for anybody else. That's me as a person. That's the way that I carry myself. When it comes down to other marginalized voices, I do my best to listen, to take in what they say, and learn. I'm not here speaking for everyone. And at the same time, too, I can't really speak for all Black people in this community either. I do know that there are people in this community that do agree with some thoughts that I have because I've talked to people in private, but this is me speaking for me. This is not me speaking and saying this is how the entire Black community feels. This is Ashley speaking as a Black member of this community that I have been a part of since 2014. I have been a part of this community for a long time. Next year makes 7 years. And I do have some thoughts. So let's go ahead. Y'all let me know. I think some people have already answered um, whether they felt like I'm going to go back up through the comments. So here we go. Is same old, same old. Um, yeah, I definitely feel that. Performative. Okay. Um, let's see here. Yanni, I think it's gotten worse since then for many reasons. Okay. Okay. I can see that. Um, See that. I could say I feel surrounded by myself more and more with Black women, so of course I see a push to change because Black women are. I get that. I definitely get that. Yeah, Neeks, I saw your response earlier where you said you feel like at least 60% of this was performative. Okay. Feels like things are back to normal. Yeah, I may be too kind of projecting with my in my outside life outside of booktube. I can be very I can often find myself being a little too critical sometimes, so I'm try to be weary of that. Okay, everyone back to normal. Let's see. Put okay, okay. Doesn't seem all that different. Okay, okay, okay. I see that. Yeah. So slightly more engaged, but still not enough. Okay, I see a lot of the same, if not worse. Yes, I did see that. Yeah, I definitely did see that. Uh, that was, yeah. Okay. Okay. So what I'm seeing from most people is that most people feel like it's about the same, or some people are saying it's gotten worse. Um, for me, I feel like there are certain pockets of individuals. And I'm not going to name them because I did not ask for their permission to name them. So I'm not going to do that. But there are individuals who have made strides in trying to make sure that they have done better about amplifying Black voices, listening to Black voices, making sure that they're reading Black books with Black perspectives. So I never am one person that likes to necessarily um, work in definitives. I never say all, I usually say some, most, very little. I just have been taught never to work in definitives because I don't think anything is ever necessarily definitive. For me, I feel like it is about the same and edging towards the worst side of it. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like the Black people in this community were tokenized. I also feel like, and this is going to make some people upset, um, I feel like there are Black people in our community that took advantage of the situation. And in doing so, I feel like it has hurt us all. And I'm going to give you some specific reasons as to why I think that nothing has changed. Okay. I, as a person, we as people cannot police what people do in their personal lives. We cannot police what people do on Booktube. You just can't control people. That's just one thing that I have learned is that at the end of the day, you cannot control what people say, what they do. You can only make people aware. You can only hold people accountable. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that have to make the decisions. In terms of reading, because I'm just going to start with reading and then I'm going to go down the line with some things. Two things with reading. For me, I feel like it was easy for people to pick up a Black book, push a Black author because it was the thing to do, as if Black people have never written books, as if you've never seen a book written by a Black author before, as if you've never had the opportunity to read a book by a Black author. It was very tokenizing, and as a Black creator, and as someone that is becoming an even more avid reader, because I feel like everybody can always do better. I am not a perfect reader by any means. Anything that I say here, I'm also going to hold myself accountable. I've had to evolve my reading as well. And I understand that process of evolving. But evolving doesn't mean that you just don't try either. And I feel like that has been used as a crutch. Well, I'm learning, I'm evolving. And yes, you are, but I think that we saw the height of reading Black literature in June, and now here in December, where are we now? People going right back to what they were doing. And people are like, well, that's what I'm comfortable doing. That's what I'm comfortable reading. And for me, that's fine. I'm all about transparency and honesty because at the end of the day, I would have preferred people to say in June, I'm not there. And I've told y'all that. If you've never been in any of these lives, then you probably have never heard me say that. But there are people in the chat who can tell you, I always say, time and time again, if you are not in that place yet, be honest and say, I'm not there yet. I'm not ready. Because by saying that, oh, we need to do this, we're going to do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then it's like, you're not mentally ready for that yet. You're not ready to make a commitment to including Black voices in the books that you read. And if you're not there, then you're just not there. But by doing what you're doing and reading Black books for the sake of reading Black books, it becomes performative. And a lot of times I felt like people were only doing it because they were scared of getting called out. I think that there's a whole nother conversation that needs to happen about booktube as a community, our inability, and I say we, our inability as a community to have nuanced conversations and to have moments where we can say, I'm wrong, I messed up, I need to learn and move forward. And not these half behind apologies that I've been seeing from so many different people, truly acknowledging I'm not where I should be, I'm not doing what I need to be doing, and do actionable things to prevent that from happening in the future. And in that same fold, I say, Black creators are making the same mistakes as well. And it's gonna piss a lot of people off, but at this point in my life, how old I am, my responsibilities, I just there's no point in trying to sugarcoat things anymore because I feel like most of us within this community are adults or on the cusp of becoming adults. I'm not just saying this to people who are not Black, people who are Black as well. You can't tell people to read Black books and tell people, "Oh, um you never read Black books. You need to be reading Black books." And then you turn around and you don't read books by Black authors either. Because that means they feel like at that point, since you're not doing it, why should I have to do it? If you don't even have respect enough to do it, why do I have to do the same thing? And for me, it becomes an issue because I think that there is, I'm trying to find the right way to say this, is that I think that we put people on pedestals and it's natural because it's just human nature. We admire people. There are people in this community that I probably put on a pedestal because I admire them and I value their thoughts and their opinions. But at the same time, actions have to back up words. And it's not fair to ask a community to read books by Black authors when we, as a Black section of this community, don't do the same. And that to me has caused failure because if you're supposed to be a beacon within the Black community, trying to set an example of what your community should be doing, when you don't do it, they don't feel the need to keep up. And I'm not saying that it's our responsibility for people to read Black books, that we are the ones that are the sole responsibility. But I also think that you can't ask someone to do something that you're not doing. It's just not right. It's not fair. And it's why we're in the same position that we were in 6 months ago, y'all. 6 months ago. We're in the same we're in the same position. We're in the same position. And I feel like the voices of some people who should be amplified were not amplified in that moment. And you can be a part of performative activism and be Black. Don't get that twisted. Just because you're Black doesn't mean that you're exempt. And I think that that's something that we need to start having a conversation about in whatever group that you're in. You have to, if well, let's put it this way, if you're gonna talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk. You can't preach, 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 and then you don't do, and then look sideways when your community is like, well, shit, you weren't doing it, so why do I need to? You're like, why do I need to do it? Like you telling me to do something that you don't even want to do. And I'm sure there are people in this community, whether they're going to verbalize it or not, that are probably like, well, why do I feel the need? Why do I have to feel pressure to read books by Black authors when the person who's telling me to do it isn't doing it themselves? That's like me telling my child, you need to pick up your clothes off the floor and put them in the laundry basket. And then she sees me walking around the house not doing the same thing. Then like, well, why do I need to do it? My own mother doesn't even do it. It's so complex and it's troubled me probably for the past 6 months because I have literally watched, and it probably is probably weird. It probably it probably is the strangest thing, but I have watched because I said that I was going to in June, and I wasn't lying to anyone. I said I was going to watch what this community was gonna do in a 6-month time frame. Did I expect everyone to be these newfound individuals? No, because when I've had this conversation about being an ally versus an accomplice, okay? This is where this conversation is so important to me and why I have this conversation because calling yourself an ally, which once again, let's do a refresher course from months ago. You cannot call yourself an ally. I don't know how many times we have to have these conversations for a community that reads so much. I wish we would pick up more nonfiction to really learn what it means between being an ally and being an accomplice and learning those definitions. You cannot bestow the name of ally upon yourself. So I really wish people would stop doing that. 6 months later, people are still doing that. And it's like, I don't know why. But it, being an ally is the easy part. Okay. Being the ally is saying, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna, share some things. I'm gonna retweet. I'm gonna speak out when I see something. But being an accomplice to me is more important. And I have not seen that many people who are working towards becoming accomplices, because accomplices means that you are down in the trenches. Okay. And you can be Black and not be an ally or an accomplice to your own community. You can. You can. You can be Black and not be an ally or an accomplice to your own community. Because at the end of the day, if you are not getting in the trenches with your own people, you're not an accomplice either, baby. You're not either. So I think that when we as a community learn the difference between allyship and being an accomplice, it'll make all the difference. I wasn't and this is all my opinion, and, I'm not the end all be all, but just my personal opinion. I see people who are trying very hard to get in the trenches and who really, really just really want to learn and understand and make a difference in their personal life, in the booktube community, however it may be. Like, they are making a difference. And you know, I don't expect that from everybody because it's a lifelong journey. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not instant gratification. We are the generation. A lot of us are millennials and Gen Z. We are the generations of instant gratification, which is the problem. We think that as soon as we share a link, we call ourselves an ally, it's done. But when you're a Black person, and like I say, I'm only speaking about being Black because that's all I know. It's not all I know, but in terms of this conversation, that I mean, I can't speak for anyone else. It doesn't stop for me. Being Black doesn't stop for me. I don't get to go in my room, wake up and be like, "Oh shit, well, you know what? Today I'm gonna be white. I'm gonna be white today, y'all, because I just don't feel like being Black today." So that whole that whole feeling of instant gratification, and because I shared a tweet, I liked a couple of things, I put Black Lives Matter in my bio, that means I'm done. And that's not the truth. That's not how it works. That's not how you help a community. Is it a start? Yes. Am I negating that? No. Am I taking that away? Absolutely not. But that's not the end of it. And I think that because we allowed that to be the end of the conversation, that's where it stopped. There was no pushing. There was no, we need to continue the conversation. So I don't know. Let me catch up on the comments, y'all. Because I mean, I'm not gonna catch up on the comments because I'm too far. I'm too far behind. Okay, for more than a year. Black Lives Matter has been around for a long time, and I think what pissed me off so much about the community in June was that everybody acted like George Floyd was the first Black person that was killed by the police. Do y'all know Black people have been killed by institutions of power for centuries? I mean, shit, since we got over here, they've been killing us. So I, it blows my mind that like people were so shocked, and I get it. I get the shock of people because you literally watched a man die on camera, and I'm not gonna ever take that away. But I think for the Black community, what's so different about it is that it's not new to us. It's not new. They were killing us during slavery. You had Black people lynching. Now it's just it's a new way. It's a new way of killing Black people. So this is not anything that's new. And the surprise, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. They treat Black people like this is what pissed me off and what still pisses me off because the thing about it is that it hasn't gone anywhere. Black people, there was a black man that was killed by the police, y'all, a day or two ago. Nobody's talking about that, right? It never ends. The conversation never ends. Yeah, yeah. It's even black people who are doing it, and I just don't feel like it's fair for even black people in the community to try to hold others to a level of accountability, and they're not holding themselves up to that level of accountability. It's not it's not fair. Yeah. Black pain or black trauma porn, as we like to call it, are books that are definitely prioritized over black joy. And I'm going to get into that a little bit with a subgenre that I want to talk a little bit about that probably is not going to make people happy. But as much as I am a people pleaser, I think I am past the point of trying to satisfy everyone. And I'm past that point because um, the treatment that has gone on in this community makes me not, it's not that I don't care because I'm an empathetic person by nature, but holding back for the fear of making someone upset, not make like holding myself back because I don't want to hurt someone's feelings, but pissing someone off because I'm saying something that they don't want to hear is not something that I'm willing to refrain from doing anymore because I feel like that's a part of the problem in why things don't get handled. Y'all, there's no way I'm gonna be able to keep up with the comments. I'm so sorry. I wish I could, but y'all are having this is a good comment too. There are performing black folks who seem like they need to get a permission slip from white folks to be accepted. And that's the nature of that's the nature of booktube to some degree. And we could talk about that a little bit, just kind of segueing. Because in that video I also said that if you were going to subscribe to my channel because it was going to make you feel better about being a part of my channel, or it was going to make you feel better about the way that black people had been treated in this community, I didn't want you to subscribe. And some people were more open to subscriptions than others. I was not. And the reason why I was not was because of what's happening right now. So a lot of black creators now are going through issues where their sub counts don't match their views. And because of that, what what we're seeing now is that you have all these people subscribed, but they're not watching your content, which is what my biggest fear was back in June. Um, was that people were subbing because it was more of a self gratification thing than actually being interested in content. So now people have thousands and thousands of people subscribe to their channel, but their views don't match at all. I've seen people who match numbers for numbers, and I can see a white creator get 10,000 views for a video and see a black creator with the same subs accounts only max out at 4,000 views. And content level, as far as um, editing and quality production and discussions happening in the video can be about the same. And that's simply because it was performative. So because people in this community were so damn performative, what ended up happening now is that you have essentially hurt black creators. The black creators are now fighting against YouTube's algorithm because of the fact that you didn't watch their content. Now, here's the thing. Also, I think it comes down to an individual thing. Me, um, I'm human like everybody else. There are moments when I'm like, dang, like I put my blood, sweat, and tears into the video, and it's not doing as well as I thought it was gonna do. Um, but sometimes I feel like black creators feel like they must, um, and I hate this word. I don't know why y'all love this word so much. Aesthetic. I hate y'all have made me hate the word aesthetic. Like, find a different word. I hate that word. Find a freaking different word. Find a synonym for aesthetic. But I think that black creators, in some instances, are put into positions where they feel like they have to meet a certain aesthetic to attract their white um, their white counterparts, which is unfortunate, but it's true. But I think that too, as a Black creator, you have to come to some reckoning where it's like, what is my purpose of doing this channel? For me, I think I've kind of wanted to slip more into the um, educational side. Like, I want people to come to my channel and learn something. Does that mean that aesthetically, I'm probably going to attract the same viewers as um, my counterparts? Probably not, because I'm going to start speaking to a more niche audience, but that's beside the point. But I do think that this ends up happening because of the fact that um, we are running into a situation now where we feel like we must fit a certain mold in order to gain the same views as our white counterparts. But it's also because, and not just white, our other counterparts. Um, I feel like until we start holding each other accountable, Black creators are going to continuously feel like they have to do this, though, because they know that unless they are doing what their counterparts are doing in terms of creating content and getting viewership, um, it's going to be hard to match. That's just my opinion, though. Okay, y'all. Still trying to catch up on these on these comments. I just feel like, oh, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, this is very true. This is a very true statement. And this is still true today, that it takes BIPOC creators longer to reach certain milestones, even if we're cranking out the same material, or even if we're cranking out the material at a higher rate. It takes us longer, and that's YouTube as a culture. But that's globally. There is a certain picture that people are looking for in terms of what they want to see. And once again, this goes into this conversation about implicit bias. But see, what bothers me so much is that we never had these hard conversations in our community. We never had conversations about, oh, like, I may have implicit bias. What does implicit bias mean? How does that impact me as a reader? How does that impact me as a viewer? How does that impact me as a content creator? Like, we never talked about stuff like this. So people who may not even have ill intentions go back to doing the same stuff they were doing because we didn't have the conversations that we needed to have. And I got so tired of hearing people say, "Oh, well, I um this is I come here to get away from stuff." Well, unfortunately, that's not everybody's luxury, and that's saying a lot about the privilege that you hold. I'm not trying to take away from anybody's safe space or anybody's space where they can escape, because Lord knows I use Booktube as an escape sometimes too. A lot of times I do, from what I have going on in my personal life. But it doesn't mean that you don't get to acknowledge conversations or situations that are happening to your community. What I feel like has happened in this community in general is there is a lack of empathy. There's a huge lack of empathy, because there's this perspective, or it seemingly is this perspective that if it doesn't impact me, it doesn't matter. And when it came to the Black Lives Matter movement, it was people were forced to open up their mouths. So they did what they had to do. And then because it no longer impacts them on a daily basis, it's I don't have to deal with it. Does that mean that I want you to think about what it means to be Black every single day of your life? No, because I know that this is not humanly possible. That's not realistic. I can't ask a white person, every morning I want you to wake up and think, what does it mean to be Black? Because I sure as hell don't wake up every morning and think, well, what does it mean to be white? I just don't have that expectation. It's not realistic. But I do want people to be more self-aware about choices that they make, about things that they say, about the fact that writing writing the Black Lives Matter movement off as, oh well, I this is my space where I like to come and relax. And it's like, well, damn, girl, like, I mean, at the end of the day, not all of us have that luxury. And this is something that's impacting people within your community. Now, is there a tactful way to have that conversation? Yes, there is. Do I think that we need to engage in mob mentality to have those conversations? Absolutely not. Was I a part of some probably ill natured conversations that happened? Yeah. I let my emotions get the best of me in a lot of situations where I think that more productive conversations could have happened, and that's just me criticizing myself. But I think we allow too many excuses and we let the opportunities bypass us to have conversations that really could make some change in this community. Like, I mean, really, really, really make some change in this community. Catching up on comments again, which I I would too. I would too. I would like to see people be okay with getting uncomfortable. And maybe I'm bringing a different viewpoint into this conversation. Let me explain why. At my job, we actively have conversations about race, y'all. So this is not something that, oh, Ashley's just doing this. No, this is something that I'm a part of in in my real life as well. So I know that healthy discourse can happen, but people have to come to a point where um, you are willing to have healthy conversations in a way that even though you're uncomfortable, you're okay with being uncomfortable. Because I understand being called out, because I was in a situation today where I was uncomfortable because I realized I was not doing something I should have done. And I was like, dang, I messed up. I messed up big time, and I wasn't thinking outside of my own sphere, my own experience at the moment, and it is uncomfortable, and it makes you feel shameful. It makes you feel like, dang, like, does this mean I'm a horrible person? And it doesn't. And I feel like we have gotten to the point where we tell people they're horrible people if they don't do X, Y, and Z. Just because you don't understand something or you don't have these conversations, it doesn't mean that you're a horrible person. We don't know what that individual's background may be. We don't know where they're coming from, what they may bring to the table. It's a lot more nuanced than that, than to say you're a bad person. And that goes back to that conversation about working on the good bad binary. Just because you share a link doesn't mean you're a good person. And just because you don't share a link doesn't mean you're a bad person. I think it's more gray area than that. It's not so black and white. But because we can't even get to the point of having a real life conversation, I'm telling y'all, this community is going to keep doing the same things they're doing over and over again. And I hate to be the one that is like a negative Nancy, but until everyone is ready to have a real die-hard conversation about the issues in this community without people having mob mentality, people feel like they're being forced to say stuff, people not really wanting to have change, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. Nothing about the way that Black people in this community have been treated is going to change. And even Black people have to change. Black people have to stop in this community, have to stop chasing the aesthetic of white creators. It's not us. It will never be us. It has never been us. You're never going to be white, ever. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter what books you hold up, guess what? You're still Black. The world still sees you as Black. They're still going to treat you as such. And until people get a grasp of reality, it's never going to change, which is why here we are 6 months later and we're in the same position we were in June. The same position. Let's talk about epic reads. Let's talk about why that situation happened. Just looking at the comments, looking at the comments, looking at the comments. Oh, that's good. That's really good. Um, see, I my views are up and down, you know? So for me, my videos do better across a longer period of time, if that makes sense. So I don't ever expect for my videos to have instantaneous um, engagement. And I don't particularly expect it when I do things that are a little bit out of Booktube's norm. So, like talking about children's books and stuff like that. Like, that's not a norm in the community. So I don't. For me, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I feel like my videos performing were getting viewed at higher rates more quickly in June than they are now. So I kind of expect a lower viewership than I would have in June, if that makes sense. Now, do I think that my videos don't perform as well as maybe someone who is a counterpart of mine? Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely see that. There are people who have 10,000 subscribers less than I do, and their videos outperform me. But at the same time, I'm kind of the wrong person to talk to about that because I'm a huge advocate for always remembering why you're doing this and always appreciating who's there. So even if I never, I do this video and it never gets 10,000 views, it to me, there's somebody out there in the void listening to what I have to say and appreciating what I have to say. So I'm probably not the best person to ask. Has there been a change? Yes. Does it emotionally and mentally impact me in the same way it may others? Probably not. Um, I'm just at a different point in my life. I'm not trying to become YouTube famous. YouTube will never be a job for me. Um, it never will be, let me rephrase that. It will never be a job situation where like, oh, I can quit my job and do YouTube full time. Like that's never going to be a thing for me. Because as I always say, and I'm sure y'all are tired of hearing me say it, but sometimes I feel like you got to say stuff over and over for people to get it. As a single mom, like that, that's not realistic. So I don't have those aspirations. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if it really bothers me, to be honest. I think I'm not surprised by stuff a lot of times, so it doesn't bother me as much. It doesn't shock me. The same thing, and I'm about to hop into what happened with Epic Reads. So was it Epic Reads, y'all? Y'all quote me if I'm wrong. Didn't Epic Reads, if I'm saying the wrong person, let me know, but this did happen. There was a situation where they have is it Dazzle or Sparkle or something? What is it, y'all? The Dazzle Awards or something like that. Um, Epic Reads did this award thing, okay, and they nominated books in different categories. Shimmy Awards. Thank you, y'all. Okay, and yes, thank you, Nicole. Nicole said it was Epic Reads. Okay, so they did the Shimmy Awards, and the Shimmy Awards they were nominating books in different categories or whatever. And then when you get to the creator side, um, you literally saw, and I don't know, and I don't like to assume that no one is a person of color, because you don't know. I don't. There may be someone who looks white and they're actually a person of color. I just don't want to make that assumption. But what I can tell you, ain't nobody on there was black. Okay, that that right there was just as crystal clear as it could be. So, um, Epic Reads then came out with a statement and said, we're going to try, or we heard what y'all said, we're listening and we're constantly making improvements, and we're going to do better moving forward. Here was my problem with that whole statement. The whole statement. All right. First of all, how can you in the year of 2020, how can you possibly have thought that looking at the people that you saw or that you had nominated for that area, you just thought this is great. This is what we want. This is representative of our community. And that to me already was like, nah, bruh, like there's no way someone thought that this was okay. Okay. Secondly, that statement of we're taking what you're saying into account and we're going to do better moving forward. That's what I'm talking about. When you let people get away with retweeting, and not saying that it's bad, But when you don't hold people to a higher standard, if you don't hold people to a higher standard than making a statement, retweeting some things, and liking some posts, they're going to think that that is it. And that is exactly what they did. That's why they were able to come back with that lame ass apology and say, we're taking into account what you said and we're going to do better in the forward and we're going to do better moving forward. Y'all, at this point, none of these companies, no publishers, no nobody, at the end of the day, should be making statements like that anymore. If you're going to come with apology and you are a business, because at the end of the day, let's keep it 100. These publishing companies are businesses. Let's not ever forget that. It is a money making business, it is a consumer based industry. We cannot forget that because that is the way that we should hold them accountable. They are a business, meaning that if they're going to turn around and make those apologies, I want to see a plan of action. Are you sending your staff through training? Are they going through implicit bias training? Are they going through diversity training? What are they doing? Not you telling me, oh, in a tweet, you're going to do better next time. How? How are you going to do better next time? Because if you have the same people from this year doing the same picking next year, what they're going to do is say, oh, y'all remember, we got to throw a Black person on there, or else they're going to complain. It's not genuine. That means you start tokenizing people. You don't genuinely want a diverse group of people up there representing your readers. Hold these businesses accountable. If you allow them to get away with making a tweet, and we allow people in the community to do the same thing. Oh, as long as I make a tweet, I'm good. That's all I gotta do. I'm gonna share my black square. And I stand in solidarity, which is fine. I'm not negating that. But you can't tell people this is the bar, and the bar is the black square, and that's all you have to do. And then when we come 6 months later, you're like, damn, why didn't you think that that was okay? Why didn't you include any Black creators in that? Why do you think they didn't? Because you didn't hold them to a higher standard. They don't feel like they have any standard to reach. As much as not Black, as much as the book community likes to say, well, we can't tell these publishers what to do, child, please. The Booktube community as a whole determines a lot of what goes on in those publishing communities. Why do you think that they ask Booktubers for sponsorships? Because we're influencers. It's money, it's marketing, it's a business. So if we as a community start telling them, listen, you can't do X, Y, and Z, we're not going to let you get away with X, Y, and Z. I promise y'all, you're going to have to force the hand. Why do y'all think that Book Outlet they no longer do their vlogger friends? Has that come back? No. Why do you think Book of the Month has strived now so hard to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of including inclusive works? Because people were holding them accountable. Holding them accountable. We were forcing their hands. I have seen books get pulled. I've seen publishers pull books back because this community has said, I'm not reading that. Because they know if enough of us get on YouTube, get on Twitter, get on Instagram and talk enough trash, it's gonna sway people not to buy it. I don't care what people tell y'all, they watch us. They know what's going on because their marketing team has to watch. They're paying attention, they're seeing what we're doing because it influences what coins get put into their pocket. Stop letting these people use you. Valerie, we not. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware. I'm listening and learning while taking a break from social media. No, what that means is that they're taking a break from the social media account where they're getting attacked the most. That's what that means, because they'll go and they'll be a part of something else. And I'm not saying that you have to cancel people, because cancel culture affects BIPOC people in worse ways than white people. That's just the truth, okay? Which is why I'm not a huge fan of cancel culture, because it hurts people of color more than it does white people. I feel like We've seen that within our own community. We have seen what cancel culture can do and how it disproportionately affects one group over others. Um, I am, though, a huge fan of holding people accountable for the stuff that they do, and that they need to make actionable movements, actionable plans. This, I'm sorry, I'm going to do better for me. It's not good enough anymore. I if you say that, I'm telling you right now, I don't trust you as a creator. Am I going to say it to your face? Probably not, because I don't need to. I don't want to have the conversation with you because you're not willing to have that conversation. I no, 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 no. All right, let's see comments. None of the responsibility. What is Spider-Man? What is not Spider-Man didn't say it. His uncle said it to him. With power comes great responsibility. And that is true. That is very, very true. I think that it's easy to say, it's not my responsibility, it's not my job, it's not my job, it's not my job. But when you collect coins, y'all, when you start collecting money, it is your job because you're getting paid. Um, and at that point is where I kind of start to draw the line when you're getting paid. Um, it is a job. You are running, whether you have filed the paperwork for a business or not. When you start signing these contracts, when you start working with these companies, they're looking at you as a business entity. And I'm saying this from my own personal experience in being sponsored, in signing contracts, in working with companies on sponsorships for videos that I am doing or have done. They look at you as a business entity. They have requirements that you have to fulfill. So it is a job. It is, you get paid for it. It's just not, well, I do this as a hobby. I think the line gets drawn at hobby and job sometimes, or it gets blurred. I don't want to say a line gets drawn because I don't think there's definites, because I think this is still could be a hobby for someone, because I sure enough always say YouTube and all this stuff still at the end of the day could never pay my bills at all. Um, but I think that it's not so black and white as we think it is. Um, and I understand. I mean, I understand. I understand. Yes, I have. I have. I have. Yeah, yeah, Mara, that's a really, really good point. That's a really, really great point. Like, we're influenced in one way or the other, and it amazes me when people are like, I don't influence people do it. You do though. Um, you do, whether it's intentional or not. And I say that from the perspective of a librarian. I'm very careful about some things that I say, even in this channel, because of the way that I have been trained as a librarian and knowing how we influence and impact, whether it's intentional influence or not. The influence is still there. Um, it still is there. It still is there, and you can't negate that. Okay, y'all. Once again, trying to catch up to to the comments. I just don't feel like. Oh, this is a good question. Do you think Penguin Random House buying Simon Schuster will have an impact on the diversity or lack thereof of authors? No, because I think publishing as a whole is a mess. And it's crazy because I work with these same people. But I'm also very particular in what I request to push. I 9 times out of 10 will only accept or request materials that are by BIPOC authors on purpose. Um, no, I no, I think there's a bigger conversation, and I don't think that's a yes. No, I do think that's a no question. I think that's a no. I think that there's a more nuanced conversation that needs to happen about how publishing treats its communities of color. And I think that that conversation started over the summer, but I think that that conversation needs to continue when you look at the disparities in just publishing as a whole, which I talked a little bit about in a video. I don't want to stray too much from the purpose of this live, but I talked about this a little bit in a video that I did, which is the unpopular opinions book tag, where one of the questions is um, a trope. Was it like a trope that needs to go, or a trope that we need to get rid of, or something along those lines, or whatever the case may be? Um, is that what I found in that question is that I did a little research, and we need diverse books put out. I got distracted because I was looking at the comments and trying to answer you all at the same time. What I found is we need diverse books put out an article, a very, very good article, in which they discussed why it's harmful to say, I'm tired of seeing this trope. We don't need to do this trope anymore. I'm tired of authors doing this trope because of the lack of access to the publishing industry. Um, what the issue with stuff like this is, even as something as small as that, is that because BIPOC authors are less likely to access the publishing industry um, at the rate that white authors do, we see white authors overuse tropes, and then BIPOC authors feel like they can no longer use those tropes because they've been overdone um, by white authors. And it creates a monopoly that white authors can only do certain things, because by the time that BIPOC authors get the opportunity to do it, we as readers scream, "Oh, that's been done so many times before." But you have to take into consideration um, the background of publishing. Now, I'm not saying that there's tropes that you don't like, um, or that are just not your thing, because there are a couple tropes out there that just are literally just not my thing. It doesn't matter who writes it. But saying that we need to get rid of certain things, you have to be very mindful of that because of the lack of access that's given to everyone. It's not equitable. So um, something as small as that, like, it's a lot of work that has to get done in the publishing industry before anyone could say that all of a sudden it's going to change. I think that there was something happened today. I didn't really look into it, where um what's the gosh, I forget her name. She wrote the retelling of Alice in Wonderland meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Why can't I remember her name? A Blade So Black. What is the author's name? Y'all please help me out here. Um the thing about it is that um, she had made a comment today that, as the moment she thinks that publishing gets is doing well, something always happens. And I think someone said in the LL McKinney, y'all, thank you so much. Um, I think she said today, if I'm not mistaken, that as soon as we think that something good is happening in publishing, um, we go backwards. Something happens, and it changes. So no, I don't think buying a company is gonna there's a lot more internal work that needs to go on. I mean, you look at the data that comes out of publishing every single year, y'all, from the staff that makes up publishing to the people, the demographics of the people that are being published. It's a problem. So no, 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 no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's LL McKinney. um, your name is Nikki Haley. You're not the Nikki Haley, are you? Like the Nikki Haley from South Carolina. Um, um, do you mean in the booktube community, or do you mean just in the world? I can just answer both. Um, I have a child, so I hope so. Um, but with the way And let me provide a little context, okay? I live in the South. Um, I live in a red state. Um, and sometimes it's hard to see or feel like there's going to be change because Booktube wasn't the only place where the discussion stopped, I'm sure. It's not an anomaly. I don't believe that to be true. But with the state of this nation and how divided it has been for the past 4 years, and even the discourse that's happening now, I'm hoping that maybe, slow change and I'll see something before I leave this earth. But I mean, for my child, yes. I mean, as a parent, I always want better for my child. Um, I don't want her to ever have to experience what I have experienced as a Black woman, not just a Black person, but a Black woman. Um, because the standard of being a Black woman in this community, y'all, you have no idea how it feels. You have no idea how it feels, and I don't even want to get emotional, but um, it's kind of hard not to because you know that at the end of the day, you can't change who you are, and you know at the end of the day, like no matter how hard you work, it may not make a difference to some people because people are going to look at you and they're going to have their preconceived notions of you as a Black woman. And I never will be white. Um, I'm never going to have straight, silky hair. I'm never going to have a certain skin tone. Um, and it sucks because I feel like, I want to change that, but um, I don't know how. I don't know how you change that. I don't know how you change being a part of a community that's dominated by white women, and you know that you'll never be a white woman. You'll never be a white woman. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say that. I want to see. I never would ever want to come off and say that I don't want this community to get better. But damn, I've been a part of this community for 6 years, y'all. 6 years. And I have worked my ass off. I'm working my ass off now because I love what I do, and I like to share my love of reading um, with people. And I don't know what people's backgrounds are like. I don't know how much work people put. Um, I don't know how much work people put into their videos and stuff. But I know for me, I bust my ass, and I work full time. I'm a single parent raising a child, and I do this because I love it. And I do it going in, and it's sad because I go in with the expectation, knowing that my channel may not ever be valued the way someone else's channel may be valued. And that's okay because I appreciate the people who do value it. But nobody should ever have to go into a situation thinking, um, and like Tori said, it's hard. It's hard constantly putting so much love and energy into a community that may not ever love you back the way that you love them. And you give your all, and it's hard to keep it positive, but you keep it positive because you know that there are people out there who do appreciate it. But I shouldn't have to work as hard. I shouldn't have to do as much. I shouldn't have to, and I'm not shading anyone. I don't want to ever come across as shading someone um for the work that they do. Because like I said, I don't know what people are balancing in their background. I don't know what people have going on in their personal lives. I can't judge that, but sometimes it is hard. Sometimes it's hard to be like, damn, I got this, and this, and I love this community, y'all. If I hated this community, y'all, I wouldn't still be here. I wouldn't be here. 6 years in the game, going on 7 years. And if I hated it, I would have quit. I would have quit a long time ago, but I keep staying and I keep doing because I hope that it does get better. I do. I really do hope that it gets better, and I hope that someday, um, I hope someday we can look back on this and be like, "Damn, look how far we've come as a community." And that's why I think I get so offended sometimes because people are like, I come reading is my safe space, Booktube is my safe space, and it's like, I want it to be my safe space too, but as a community, you always remind me that I'm not good enough, um, that I'm not what you're looking for. And I understand too that you're never gonna be everyone's cup of tea shit. Like, I'm y'all, I have a child at this point. I really don't give a damn. It's kind of like you get to that point where you're like, I don't need everyone to like me. It's not that type of situation. It's just you want to feel the love that you put in. You want to get that love back out. And sometimes as a Black creator, um, it's hard. And I can understand why Black creators don't stay. If you don't realize, Black creators come and go, y'all. There are Black creators who quit, people who are putting out great content who just have stopped. They stopped because they just don't feel like they need to keep doing it since June. And people haven't noticed. There are Black creators who have quit since June, who have put their all into their channels and they have quit because they're like, what's the point? Because y'all are never going to see me the way you see the next person. And we all know, like, being a part of YouTube, like, it's a stroke of luck to some degree. I mean, you get lucky. You do. Luck does play a role. The algorithm is, I mean, it's AI, but when people do things like what they've done now, where they have hurt Black creators, it's bad. Like, it's bad to know that not speaking to anyone in particular, but just saying like that you wanted to feel so good about yourself that instead of helping, you've hurt people in the long run. Um, so yeah, that's a tough question, Nikki. I do want to see it get better, but being here as long as I've been here, sometimes it feels like why have that expectation when people keep doing the same things over and over and over and over again. I don't know. Sorry, y'all. I hate getting emotional. I don't do that. I don't do that. I do not do that at all. No, that crying and shit. But I do appreciate. I do want to. I do want to say that I do appreciate the people who have been here. There are some people, y'all, who like have been ride or die. They've been ride or die. And those are the people who make me keep coming back. If anyone has had that question of, well, if you feel this way, well, why do you keep coming back? Because there are people who make me feel like I serve a purpose in this community, that I'm wanted and needed in this community. So um, that's why I come back for them. I come back for them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess it's a lot. I know maybe it's just stress too, y'all. There's a lot of stress going on in the background of my life as well that, a lot of us do keep behind closed doors because you just don't share your entire personal life all the time. Um, how are we doing on time? I have like 20 minutes left because I gotta keep my word, and stick to an hour and a half because I gotta take care of myself tonight. And now I gotta do my makeup over for this stupid video. But some actionable things, since I'm always talking about actionable things. I need a list. I need action. I need actions. Um, I think that there needs to be more dialogue, and the dialogue needs to continue. And I think the dialogue needs to extend past Black creators. And, like I say, I can only be a part of I'm not saying I can't be a part of the other dialogue, but I can only be um, a voice in the dialogue that is impacting Black creators. But I think that dialogue in how this community works needs to happen. More empathy needs to happen, and there needs to be more understanding that when someone is critical of you, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you automatically need to get on the defensive. And it's human nature, and it takes practice to get past that point. That comes with time, growth, and maturity. But I think that if we don't continue to have these conversations, if we don't continue to have, whether they're lives or whether they're monthly town halls or, I started doing lives on my channel once a week. I haven't been doing once a week this month because Vlogmas is a trip and a half. But um, having these open conversations and not being fearful to talk and to hold each other accountable. Because how, as we a community, how can we ever get better if we don't talk about things and put them on the table and not get defensive every time someone says, hey, you hurt somebody by doing this? Or, I wish that maybe this situation could have been handled better. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to y'all, Twitter is not the place to have that discourse, because Twitter is a place, one, where you're not talking to people, you're speaking through characters. You can't read the tone of a tweet, you can't read someone's intention behind a tweet. It's the same reason why when I get angry at someone, I don't text them, because you don't know what the intention is behind a text. I think Twitter's the same way. You don't know intentions. You can't read tones. I think it's just a quick way to shoot whatever is coming straight from your brain to your fingers. And that's it. Twitter is not the place to have that discourse, in my personal opinion. I just don't think it's effective. It's proven that it's not effective ways to have conversations. I feel like bringing conversations of importance to YouTube, to our main platforms, or even to Instagram, because I know we have a lot of bookstagrammers in the community and that's their main platform. I feel like those are the ways to have conversations, and we're going to disagree. We're going to disagree. And people have got to come to an understanding of knowing we will disagree, and that is okay. Just because someone doesn't see your not doesn't see just because someone doesn't agree with your point of view does not mean that they are a bad person. Now, there's just some things that I personally won't get down like with, like if you're bigoted, you're racist, you're homophobic, you're transphobic. Like, I just, that there ain't no conversations about that. That's for me. I just can't. But I think it's okay to sit down at a table with someone and say, you know what, we're going to have to agree to disagree. And I don't know whether, like, I feel like the Booktube community needs classes on, like, conflict. And maybe because I'm coming from a professional field where I have to know how to deal with, I'm in a position where I have to know how to deal with conflict between people, that I think that we need some we need some training on, like, conflict management, how to deal with conflict between people. And some people may be like, "Oh, this is unnecessary. This is not, I don't come here for that." But it's like, until people feel like they want to see a change in this community and they're willing to take the actionable steps to make a change, I promise y'all 6 months from now, June of next year, it's going to be the same thing happening. Y'all going to ask me 6 months from now, Ashley, how do you feel things are going? It's the same. It's the same. It's the same damn thing happening over and over again, because of the fact that nobody wanted to take the actionable steps. And it's not, everybody's not going to jump on board at once. Um, everyone is not going to be on the same page at once. It's gradual. As millennials, as Gen Z, I know that we have people who are Generation X and or not Generation X. Is it Gen X? It's Gen X. Y'all, this, yeah, Gen X. I know we have people who are Gen X and baby boomers that are within our community as well. But I feel like a lot of the discourse happens with millennials and Gen Z, because once again, we are the microwave generations. We want things to be resolved like this. We want people to change like this. If you want effective change in people, if you want people to do the right things, you have to give them the space to grow. Some people need help to grow, and some people don't want to be helped. And you have to come to terms with that too. I always say, as a person, just in my personal life and my professional life, some people need life to teach them, and that's okay too. But you have to come to that realization. I think that for a group of people who are so intelligent, we read, we do something that most of the human population does not do. Y'all know I went on my personal Facebook and shared that, dang, I read, uh, I'm trying to read 300 books this year. People look at me like I was crazy. People like, 300 books? Girl, when do you breathe? When do you have time? I don't even read books at all. I read one book this year. Do y'all realize that our community in itself is just different? We're just different. We do something that most people don't even do, and to have such a group of people who are so intelligent and so, I think, for the most part, have good intentions for the most part, because I'm not going to give that to everybody. um we can do better. We can do so much better than what we're doing right now. We can do so much better. I know that we can do so much better than what we're doing if we took the time and took the steps that were needed to harness our community and grow it in the way that we want to see it grow. And not just in terms of Black people, but in terms of everybody that feels like they're left out, that they're marginalized, that the Booktube community doesn't care about them. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. For people who read so damn much, why is empathy a missing factor? What like, and I'm not saying that reading necessarily makes you an empathetic person, because there are some people who read a lot who are horrible individuals. But I don't get it. I just don't get it. Empathy is a huge thing. That for me. That's empathy is a huge thing that is missing, and I hope that maybe one day um, we could come to the table. We could come to the table as a community, and we can have these conversations, and that we can start doing what we need to do in order to make this community better. And that doesn't exclude me at all. I want you to know that in everything and anything that I say, it does not exclude me, because I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect reader. This was the first year, and I'm keeping it transparent because I believe in transparency in terms of this community, not in my entire personal life. But this was the first year I really started gauging how many Black readers, how many books by Black authors am I reading a month? Because even as a Black person, when I looked at my stuff last year, I was like, all right, now, Ashley, like, what's going on? I started looking at how many books am I reading by translate? Like, how many translated books am I reading in a month? How many books am I reading? And I think Mara made a great point last night. Mara said, um, tracking is a good way to kind of see stuff like that. Be mindful too, because you don't want to tokenize and run into that issue. But even I can admit that I have had areas where I have not done what I have needed to do. Everybody can work on something. Nobody in this community is perfect. And having this live and having this conversation, for me to say, like, I don't feel like anything has changed. I genuinely don't feel like anything has changed. That doesn't mean that I expect people to be perfect, but I expect people to make an effort. I do. Because you would want someone to have the same amount of respect and empathy for you if you were going through a tough time. Unfortunately, for some of us, our tough times don't just come and go, they stay with us for the rest of our lives. And that's just the way that life works. And everybody carries a burden with them in some way, whether it is visible or not. But to not even want to try, to not even want to have the empathy to see through the lens of someone else is something that really, really bothers me. Um, and until we all get to that point, and maybe we all won't get to that point because it's unrealistic. This is not a utopian state. We're not going to all get to that point. But I think until we all get to a point of consensus where we say, not all, where some of us get to a point of consensus where we say we're ready to make a change. We're ready to do things differently. We are going to start holding people accountable, but accountable in a way that it doesn't live in cancel culture. We don't accountability and where it's like, oh, I'm going to run you out of here and then we're all going to laugh about it and then everybody goes back to doing the same thing. Because there are people who are ran out of this community and there are people who are doing the same things that those same individuals that got ran out of the community are doing, if not worse. So, yeah, 10 minutes, Tammy. Thank you. I got 10 minutes left. Something else um I wanted to touch on before I left was going back to, because we are a book community. Um there is no difficulty in reading books by Black authors. Okay? There is no um I can't find or I don't know, right? Google is free. And I am the type of person where if and I've been like this in my life. If I see you trying, I'm sitting on the floor, my knees hurt, getting old. Um, I'm the type of person where if I see you trying and you're making an effort and you're like, I read this book. Do you have a recommendation? I'm going to give it to you because you're making an effort. However, I'm not the type of person who just hands out recommendations for the sake of handing out recommendations because you want your job to be easy for you. Black authors write in every genre that you will find any other any other group. Okay. The fact that people are acting like in the year of 2020, this is the first time that they knew that Black authors existed is absolutely disgusting to me. Okay. We've been writing forever. We as a community have been writing forever. All right. Um, I think that you have to be willing to make those moves. And I see it in a lot of sub communities on Booktube, whether that is the fantasy community, whether that is the YA community, whether that is the romance community, because me watching just communities do certain things, it always amazes me as to say, like, well, why did you not pick up a book by um, an author doesn't look like you or characters that don't have the same experience as you. And people often say, well, I just pick up what I pick up and that's what I read. Well, if you pick up what you pick up and you're not intentional about your reading, you're always going to read the same things. And I think that people have been using that as an excuse. Oh, I don't look at the author, I don't look at color. Well, honey, baby, like, listen, okay? Don't ever use that line, you don't see color, you don't look at color, because that means you don't see me if you don't see color. All right? And I demand to be seen at this point. Make your reading intentional. I'm not saying that you're going to start off reading 30 Black books a month and that's it. It won't happen that way. It's not realistic. And you will run out. You will run out of the motivation to continue doing what you're doing because it's going to feel like a chore. But at least try to make your reading intentional. Try to do better. That's all I'm asking for people to do is to try. And for God's sake, y'all, if you pick up a book about Black people, pick up a book about Black joy, okay? There's nothing wrong with reading because I'm quick now. I'm quick to read the impactful books. Y'all, if you watch me, if you know me, I read hard-hitting books. That's just my cup of tea. That's just me. I don't know why I do that. But be intentional. Black people can be happy too. All the books about us don't have to be about slavery. They don't have to be about racism. They don't have to be about, I mean, I love reading books about Black people navigating white spaces, but that's me. That's me. I choose to do that. But they don't have to be that because I'm telling you, as a Black person, it's draining. It's draining. It's super draining to even read that as a Black person. It is super draining on everyone to constantly have to read about trauma. So pick up something that has Black joy. I saw somebody in the comments say, Black love. And I made this comment on Twitter, and I'm going to say it again here. While I have your attention and I have 5 minutes left, pick up a romance book that has two Black people. For God's sake, as much as this community now is starting to delve into romance, if y'all don't pick up a book with two Black people in it, you, the history of why Black love is so important is so it's such an important conversation, y'all. It's such an important conversation. And if I have to pick up, or if I have to have a conversation with anyone else about the fact, and there's nothing wrong, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with reading about interracial romance, multicultural romance, romance between white people, romance between whoever, between people and aliens, for God's sakes, because I definitely read a romance about a woman and a merman the other day. Okay. Whatever floats your boat, whatever gets your socks off. All right. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just using this as an example of being intentional about your reading, because and understanding that being intentional builds empathy. Because if you ask a Black person, why is it so important for me to read a romance between two Black people? They will tell you it's because the whole concept of Black love for us has been taken away for a long time. Historically, it's been taken away. It's been removed from us. We haven't had that opportunity, and that it's okay to celebrate two Black people being together. It's okay to celebrate Black people being happy. It's okay to celebrate Black people just being Black people and not having to deal with microaggressions or just, gun violence or police brutality. Like, it's okay to do that. I think that we have been a group that has been treated as though our trauma is who we are, and our trauma does not define us. Our trauma is not who we are. Is our trauma a part of our narrative? Very much so, because I feel like it's a part of our history, but it's not all of us. And I feel like when we continue to push books like The Hate You Give and Dear Martin, and I'm a champion for Nick Stone and Angie Thomas. They're great women, great Black women doing phenomenal things. But read something else, y'all. Read something else, and start being mindful of who you listen to. Be intentional on who you consider your voices of the Black community. Be very mindful of that, because some of y'all are getting swindled and you don't even know it. But I'm telling you, the Black people in the back, oh, we know. And we sitting on the sidelines just looking like, I can't believe this. I can't believe that they selling you a pound of wooden nickels and you buying it. You eating this shit right up, eating it out the palm of their hand. Be very intentional. Let someone lead with their actions and not their words. Watch what people do, not what they tweet, not what they put on Instagram. Watch what they do. And they will tell you, and they will show you whether you need to take their word as golden or not. And that's all I got to say, because it's 9:59, and I feel like that's a good way to end it on. Actions always speak louder than words. So when you're looking for Black voices to listen to in this community, and I'm not the end all be all, I'm just a simple woman sharing her thoughts, because there are people out there who are sharing much powerful and much better thoughts than me. Um, be careful and be mindful. And with that said, good night. I'm off to redo this mug, shoot this video, and I'm going to sleep. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Maybe we should have this discussion again. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Good night, y'all.